about a week ago, I gave us a heads up of some drastic stuff Joe Biden was looking to do on his way out the door. And today it dropped. He's looking to remove the presidential immunity of Donald Trump. And he'll say everybody going forward, but he's doing this because of Donald Trump's immunity that he was, I guess, that was given to him or reinforced by the Supreme Court. And Biden turned his direction and his attention to the Supreme Court as well, looking to fundamentally change the Supreme Court for future generations. Before I get into it, I want to ask you guys if you've made plans to attend GOA's first ever national convention in Knoxville, Tennessee. You can come ready and see some dynamic speakers like the AK guy himself, Brandon Herrera, John Lovell of Warrior Poet Society, Paul Glasgow, Legally Armed America, and political commentator Dana Lash. Hey, even I'll be there. You will have the opportunity to interact with hundreds of vendors, including Brownells, Smith & Wesson, Daniel Defense, Canik, and more. And there could even be a few surprise product launches. There will be stacked panels of experts, multiple Second Amendment advocacy workshops, and the chance to connect with fellow patriots and GOA staff and their legal team. Mark your calendars for August 17th and 18th at the Knoxville Convention Center, and get your tickets now at gunowners.org/goals. I look forward to seeing y'all there, and you can concealed carry at the event. Oh, it's free for GOA members. If you're not a member, you can fix that. If you use the link in my description, it's gunowners.org/gunsgadgets, another slash. It saves you money on your membership. I don't get anything out of it, just saves Guns and Gadgets members a little bit depending on the membership you choose. So you can join goals, save a little money doing it, and go to the event for free. You can also join there at the door as well. Let's get into what just came out today from the White House, where Joe Biden is targeting Donald Trump again and the Supreme Court for actually saying what the Constitution and all the laws around presidential immunity have said. This was released this afternoon by the White House, and it's the fact sheet. President Biden announces bold plan to reform the Supreme Court and ensure no president is above the law. Coming from the guy who's using everything he can in his administration to try to ruin his opponents. From his first day in office, and every day since then, President Biden has taken action to strengthen American democracy and protect the rule of law. In recent years, the Supreme Court has overturned long-established legal precedents protecting fundamental rights. This court has gutted civil rights protections, taken away a woman's right to choose, and now granted presidents broad immunity from prosecution for crimes they commit in office. At the same time, recent ethics scandals involving some justices that have caused the public to question the fairness and independence that are essential for the court to faithfully carry out its mission to deliver justice for all Americans. President Biden believes that no one, neither the president nor the Supreme Court, is above the law. In the face of this crisis of confidence in America's democratic institutions, President Biden is calling for 3 bold reforms to restore trust and accountability. This coming from the guy who cheated on the election. 1. No immunity for crimes a former president committed in office. President Biden shares the founders' belief that the president's power is limited, not absolute, and must ultimately reside with the people. He is calling for a constitutional amendment that makes clear no president is above the law or immune from prosecution for crimes committed while in office. This "no one is above the law" amendment will state that the Constitution does not confer any immunity from federal criminal indictment, trial, conviction, or sentencing by virtue of previously serving as president. Well, that would be interesting, because if they were ever to get the entire country to pass this constitutional amendment, Barack Obama would be arrested and tried for droning American citizens. Oh, did I say that part out loud? Number 2, term limits for Supreme Court justices. Congress approved term limits for the presidency over 75 years ago, and President Biden believes they should do the same for the Supreme Court. The United States is the only major constitutional democracy that gives lifetime seats to its high court justices. Term limits would help ensure that the court's membership changes with some regularity, make timing for court nominations more predictable and less arbitrary, and reduce the chance that any single presidency imposes undue influence for generations to come. President Biden supports a system in which the president would appoint a justice every 2 years to spend 18 years in active service on the Supreme Court. The problem is the terms for these justices, not just the Supreme Court, but the federal judges that are appointed by the President of the United States. I believe it's Article 3, Section 1 of the United States Constitution. It says in the Constitution they serve for life as long as they're in good service. In good behavior is the actual term in the Constitution. So this would need to be a constitutional amendment. What they're trying to do is to get rid of checks and balances. They will stop at nothing. Number 3, binding code of conduct for the Supreme Court. President Biden believes that Congress should pass binding, enforceable conduct and ethics rules that require justices to disclose gifts, refrain from public political activity, and recuse themselves from cases in which they or their spouses have financial or other conflicts of interest. Supreme Court justices should not be exempt from the enforceable code of conduct that applies to every other federal judge. They're pissed off at Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas because they're the most conservative justices there are on the court, and they were key in returning abortion to the states and kicking federal gun control in the dink with the Bruen decision. They're really, really pissed about those 2 cases, and they want to hold those 2 accountable for doing what they were allowed to do. Like every justice was allowed to do what they were doing. They were reporting stuff. There were no caps or limits. Some of these people have friends that are wealthy, and they're trying to pick and choose their battles here. Some people will fall for it. Others will see right through it. President Biden and Vice President Harris look forward to working with Congress and empowering the American people to prevent the abuse of presidential power, restore faith in the Supreme Court, and strengthen the guardrails of democracy. President Biden thanks the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States for its insightful analysis of Supreme Court reform proposals. The administration will continue its work to ensure that no one is above the law, and in America, the people rule. Coming from the president, who's used more executive orders and executive actions than any of them, including violating the Second Amendment every single chance he gets with a new rule through his Department of Justice and the ATF. The guy who's been in service for his entire life is now in favor of term limits. Kind of shocking. Guys, I just wanted you to be aware of this. Thoughts down below. I think this is utter BS, but as we get closer to the election, they got to go back to Orange Man Bad, and this is another way they're doing it. Will this work? Will more people vote for Kamala than the last poll indicates? Last poll was like 60% for DJT and 39% for Cackle and Kamala. We'll see what happens. Guys, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your love of the channel and appreciate your support. Until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family, your community safe. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and make a comment to help support what we do here on YouTube. Take care, y'all.